I want to close with giving the next generation a little bit of your wisdom and experience. So somebody's in a program right now studying to be a doctor, and what would you what would you relay to them? What would you, if you were to rewind all those years way back when, even maybe before you studied to be a doctor, back in your undergraduate, what do you wish you had really focused on or maybe picked up in your education years that would have prepared you maybe a little bit more for what you're doing? Let's make this brief. I'd like to hear from all three of you just in the last couple of minutes we have here. Lee, do you want to go first?
Wow, that's a broad question. I think psychology, if I could pick one thing, would be psychology. I think it's all about people at the end of the day. And it's all about working effectively with people, whether that's change management, to Joel's earlier point, or whether it's about studying strategy and vision and motivating your team, whether it's removing hurdles or saying no, as Stephanie talked about. It's really, psychology is really a big piece of what we do. And so I think if you're asking me what would I do a little bit more of in preparation for this role in my younger years, it would have been to go a little bit deeper on psychology.
Fantastic. Joel?
Well, leaving aside the alternate musical career that I could have, I think you've really got to know yourself and you've got to listen to your voice and ask yourself, do I like what I'm doing? Do I like the day-to-day of what I'm doing? And what do I notice around me about people that I admire who look like they're enjoying their day-to-day? And does that fit with me? And part of the problem with becoming a doctor is that you're on this conveyor belt for a decade. And frankly, a lot of it is hazing. So I don't really know that we need all the biochemistry and cell biology and all the nonsense and the flashcards and the staying up until however 2 a.m. to memorize all this stuff. Your 20s will be gone with that. And it's not that I would have done it differently, but you've got to, I have plenty of colleagues who get to their 50s and they're like, do I have to keep doing this really? And they haven't developed the skill of looking around and sidestepping to something else, or they'll try to sidestep in a way that is just very restraining to just telemedicine, as opposed to, wait a second, there's all kinds of things I could do with this career. If you told me 2 decades from now that I would be the CIO of an airline or a complicated logistics company, I would love that, because to me, that would just mean I keep growing and I keep changing. And so I think when you're early in your career, you've got to water that plant really carefully.
Fantastic. Stephanie, you get the last word.
I think a lot of what's being highlighted here is keeping your mind open. A physician path does not look like any one thing. It can look like so many different things. A clinician path in general, I think a clinical background is an amazing thing to bring into a whole bunch of different areas. And I don't think any of the three of us, if you had asked you're speaking of 20 years in the future, 20 years ago, if you'd have asked me if I'd be the CIO of a health system, I'd have been like, no, I barely program my own computer at home. And so I think it's just keeping your mind open to paths that come in front of you. And then to Joel's point, understanding yourself. And then to Lee's point, understanding the people around you.